have that. Actually, just this way where the parking lot is, that's where the Spud Nut shop used to be. And you could get those and sell them, and you'd make a nickel, 10 cents a dozen, I think. You know, and you sell 20, 30 dozen, and you know, you kind of had a route, you know, bicycle thing. So anyway, bought a bicycle one summer doing that. So anyway, a lot of my stuff really falls back to core basic knowledge. And it's probably one of the biggest things, and I don't want to maybe continue on with maybe some other timeline here, but it's one of the core things that I think gets lost. Because a lot of you all are going to be graduating, looking for a job, maybe you're looking to go into something. And I don't know how many people I talked to, including my nephew, you know, that graduate and said, okay, I'm ready to go. Here I am. You know, but there is so much knowledge that each of you, at least in my business or any other business that's in, that you might ever pursue, there's so much knowledge at a very basic level you've got to understand. You know, John mentioned why we bring 5 baskets in. Well, it's because if you bring more than that, people swing around, they hit the doors, and they're $20,000 a unit and a set for the doors, and we go through about every 18 months we're replacing one at every store, you know, just because they get hit, people hit them, people drive through them. I've seen a variety of things happen, but what happens is when you spin those baskets around, if you get more than 5, anybody here, let's put some more you can relate. Anybody ever had a basket that went da 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 and it just rattled and one wheel was self-minded and okay? That's because somebody pushed in too many baskets and they swung around the corner, and when you swing around the corner, it flattens the wheel. And that's why that happens. Pretty simple, isn't it? You go try to tell 2,700 people stop doing it. You think it isn't difficult? Think if you've got a habit. You smoke, you chew, you twist and chew on your hair. Bite your fingernails, pick your nose, I don't care what it is. Okay? And you've tried to quit it. Smoking's probably the most obvious for a lot of people. Think how hard it is for you to change. Okay? Just change your own behavior. Now I'm trying to change 2,700 people's behavior. So see, that's the challenge. That's the challenge. That's why I said you got to have those. You got to have people that'll, you know. And I never was in the Army, but you got to have people that will, you know, when things get tough, they'll dig that foxhole with you, and they'll get in the foxhole with you. And when the bullets are going overhead, they'll stay in the foxhole with you. They aren't going to turn and run. A lot of people, things get tough. You got to cut back. You got to do this, and people bamboos. They're out of there. Okay, well, that won't work. You know, that's good that they left, because now you don't have to deal with them. Y'all ever seen the movie Patton? George C. Scott? He slapped the guys that were in the hospital. You know. I mean, he was a mean SOB. Like he said when he came on, he said, I need to be so tough on them to get discipline that they're more scared of me than they are the Germans. They'll want to go fight them. Okay? I don't try to be that way. Don't try to be that way. I see Jill sitting right here. We'll ask her in a minute. So anyway, we're in the 60s, grew up here, had 3 brothers. Like I said, none of them stayed in the business. We added a store against better judgment. A few years went by. My dad got the $5,000 back. He took it back to the banker in Muskogee, paid him back. And that was pretty typical, I think, of things that he would do, you know, because despite what some people may think and despite what you think, character does matter. It matters, it matters, it matters. All the stuff your parents been telling you, it's true. I'll never forget, we were in Broken Arrow, and it was playing baseball, organized baseball for the first time. And we were out, my dad was just throwing some balls, and a friend of mine and I were fielding them. And he wasn't quite as adept as I was. And he was afraid to get in front of the ball. He was afraid he was going to get hit. My dad wasn't throwing the thing that hard. But anyway, he saw me do it. He saw everybody else do it. My dad was trying to teach him, just get in front of the ball, it won't hurt you. You know, tossed the ball at him one time and it hit him just to show him that it wouldn't hurt. Well, he finally figured it out, got to where he could field the baseball. What's the first thing he does? runs home to his dad, who had been trying to teach him the very same thing. Said, "Look, Dad, look, and he showed him how to field it, and his dad said, "Oh, that's great, Larry, my son, I'm trying to bond with him here, and you showed him how to do it." Okay, but the point is, there's a lot of things, lots of times, where you hear it from someone else, and sometimes you don't hear it from the person that's trying and probably cares about you the most. Sometimes it has to come from an outside source, and it's pretty true. I'm probably the worst person to go maybe talk to some group of people. Somebody else probably ought to send that message, because they may believe it from them when they hear it the second time from them. So, well, I guess he's serious about it. He said it twice, So anyway, we're up to the 70s, and things started changing. We started adding stores. Added a store in Stillwell, Sapulpa, and from Lewis Whitaker. Lewis is kind of an interesting guy that owned a store in Sapulpa that we bought. He flew one of the B-29s with the Hiroshima and Nagasaki runs. He was, I think, flying one of the planes for the photography. Kind of an interesting fella, and been in a lot of other things. So it's just amazing how as you go through life, you touch some of these people in history and you don't even realize it. We had a lady that works for us, still does, Katie. She does a lot of the sampling out at the store. She lived on the same block, get this, at one point in time when she was a child, she lived on the same block with Mussolini, Adolf Hitler, and I can't remember there was another one there that she lived on the same block, remembers them as children. She works for us out here right now. It's really interesting to talk to her. She won't talk about it much, but she has over time. But it's just amazing as you get to be the ripe old age of 54, how many paths you cross, how many other things you get intertwined in. But we started adding stores, bought a store in Miami, Oklahoma, trying to go through the numbers here, and then another one in Stillwell, and we've done a couple of things along the way, and just kind of started adding, and then it got to a point, and John, I think you had asked a question, about how things are changed, which way was the wind blowing. Well, the wind started blowing differently back in the 80s and 90s, and we had actually 12 stores, so they were smaller, and it looked like we needed to go to the bigger stores. And my dad's credit, he said, let's sell the little ones, let's convert the ones we can, we need to get into larger stores. The problem was we needed to have as good a mousetrap as anybody else that might come to town. Kroger, Safeway, Walmart, whoever it is, we need to have as good a mousetrap as they've got. We can't do that in 25,000 square feet. We need 55 or 60 or 70, or now we've got 85 in some places. You need that much space. And that's how we got into the bigger stores. It was just via simply of necessity. That's just what it took to be successful. And it took a while to learn, because any of you that have been in a 1 or 2 bedroom home, then you go into something bigger, okay, it's an adjustment. We have the same problem in the grocery store. Somebody that's in a smaller store and moves to a big one, it took us a while to figure out, to get into the mindset of those people that, well, wait a minute, they were used to doing something, taking 30 steps and being at the back of this store to do it. Now it's 180 steps. So the economics of the whole store changed. So there was a big learning process that we had to go through. And it wasn't only us in the management level, it was also the supervisory level there at the store. It took a while to really get our arms around that and get control of the cost. And when you're running a little bit of volume, or if you're losing a little bit of money, you really want to stick your finger in the dike as quick as you can. And that isn't always easy to do. It just takes a while to get your arms around it. So we started adding the bigger stores, and that's just kind of grown. We tried to buy Albertsons 2 or 3 times, actually in the entire state. That was an interesting deal. And eventually they called us. A guy by the name of Eric Creamers, I don't even think he works for them now. He was their strategic something. I was going through some cards the other day. I saw his card. Nice guy. Anyway, he was a strategic planner, and they had sent people by to see if we would sell our pharmacies. They were doing some things that 2 and 2 just